Hello and welcome back to Cowboy Insiders. If you are a true fan of American team, which is a Dallas Cowboy, this is where a passion meets insight, where every rumors matters, and where every draft picks could shape the future of the Dallas Cowboy. So, first of all, welcome back to this channel to everyone who keeps coming back, supporting, sharing, and leading with us through every high and low. And if you are new here, you have just joined one of the most passionate fan base in all of sport. This is more than just a football. This is a legacy, expectations, and a constant pursuit of a greatness. So today we are diving a deep into one of the most exciting and unpredictable times of the year, the NFL draft season. The anticipation is building, a mock draft and are evolving a daily, and a Dallas Cowboy are once again at the center of attention as they prepare to make a decision that could define the next chapter of the franchise. The NFL draft is not just about adding a player. It's about filling the gaps in the teams, correcting a past mistakes, and building a roster capable of making a deep playoff run. So for our team, which is the Dallas Cowboy, the pressure is always amplified. Every move is analyzed and every pick is debated in the fans and in the media. And every miss is remembered. Coming into this draft cycle, the Cowboys have a clear needs. Despite being competitive in recent season, there are still critical areas that need reinforcement. Offensive line depth and long-term stability, defensive playmakers, especially in secondary, and a wide receiver depth behind their top target. And also, the Dallas need to make a running back option depending on a roster decisions. A mock draft across the league are trying to predict what the Dallas will do, but one thing's in certain, this team cannot afford to miss. So for the mock draft trends and what experts are saying on the Dallas Cowboys NFL draft of this year, across the multiple mock draft, a few consistent partner are emerging when it comes to a Dallas. Number one is our offensive line reinforcement. Many analysts believe that the Dallas Cowboys will prioritize protecting their quarterback and rebuilding a dominance in a trenches. Names like inert college tacklers and guards are frequently linked to a Dallas. The idea is simple in the Dallas. Control the line of scrimmage, dominate physically, and return to a more balanced offensive identity. This strategy reflects the philosophy that once defined a Cowboys during their most successful years. A strong offensive line and leading to explosive offenses. The second upgrade is a secondary focus in defensive. While Dallas has had flashes of defensive brilliance, inconsistency in the secondary has cost them in a big moment. Several mock draft project cornerbacks or safeties landing in a Dallas. Players who bring a speed, awareness, and a stability to create a turnovers. The modern NFL is pass heavy, and if the Cowboys want to compete with inert teams, they need a defenders who can match up against a top-tier receivers. So another popular direction in a mock draft is adding offensive weapons. Whether it's a wide receiver with a game-breaking speed or versatile running back, a Dallas could look to give their offense more explosiveness. there is a growing belief that the Cowboys need another dynamic playmaker, someone who can change the games instantly and take a pressure off the passing game in the Dallas Cowboys. So, the Jerry Jones factor for NFL draft this season in the Dallas Cowboys. So, Jerry Jones, there is no discussions about the Cowboys. Is complete without mentioning a Jerry Jones. His influence on draft decision is legendary. So sometimes bold, sometimes controversial, but always impactful for the team. So the Jerry Jones is known for making unexpected moves, and that unpredictability adds another layers of excitement to every mock draft. Analysts can project all they want, but when draft night arrives, the Dallas often surprise everyone. So in the perfect roles, the Cowboys walk away from this draft with a starting caliber's offensive lineman and a defensive playmakers ready to contribute, and immediately a high upside skills players can develop into a star. But there is also some leaks that affect the Dallas Cowboy in these NFL draft mocks. Reaching for a players, ignoring key needs, or failing to adapt as a draft unfolds could leave a Dallas in difficult position. This means the NFL draft is unpredictable and even the best teams can walk away with disappointing results. For a franchise with a championship expectations, anything less than a strong draft class will raise a serious questions. So, so as we move on close to NFL this draft, those tension, speculation, and excitement surrounding the Dallas are reaching another level inside the league cycle, and things are starting to take a shape. Front officers are finalizing their board's private workout, are wrapping up, and the Dallas, this is where a little strategy begins. Not just a guesswork. What makes this year different is that the Cowboys are not just looking for depth, they are looking for impact. This is a team that believes it is a closer to competing at the highest level in the NFL, and the draft is being treated as the weapon to push them over an edge for a Super Bowl. So there is the latest developments around the Dallas draft strategy. Number one is a heavy focus on offensive line to rebuild. One of the strongest development coming out of the Dallas is their growing interest in offensive linemen. Internally, there is a belief that a dominance in the trenches must return if this team wants to control a game again. So there is some names consistently linked to the Dallas in this NFL draft. Number one is J.C. Lathan. He is a powerful tackle with innate size and strength. Many insiders believe he can fit in the Dallas Cowboys' physical identity perfectly. The other is Alo Fashanu, a technically polished and extremely reliable in a pass protection, a safe high floor options, a terrace swagger, and a rising prospect with aggression and versatility, capable of playing a multiple position on the line. So there is a whisper that the Dallas could prioritize an offensive lineman even if a flashy skills play is still unavailable. That tells you how serious they are about rebuilding the foundations. The defensive playmaker still on the ladder. A disparate offensive needs, the Cowboys are not ignoring a defense. In the fact, some mock drafts suggest they could go a defense if the right players falls. So there is some key targets which include a cool MC country one of the top cornerbacks in a class. Known for accurate coverage skills and football IQ, Akopa Dedron, a versatile defensive back who can play in multiple roles including a safety and return specialist. A Jared Verse, a disruptive edge rusher who could instantly upgrade the Cowboys' pass rush rotation. So Dallas understands that to compete in the today NFL, you need a defenders who can create a turnovers and pressure quarterbacks consistently. A surprise interest in skills position players. Here is where things get interesting. Even though offensive line and defensive are priorities, Dallas has been quietly linked to explosive offensive weapons. This suggests they may be preparing for a best players available strategy if a star fails unexpectedly. So a name to watch is Brian Thomas Jr., a big play wide receiver with an elite speed and touchdowns potential. The next is Xavier Worth, one of the fastest player in the draft, capable of stretching a defense instantly. And the next is Jonathan Blocks, a dynamic running back who could bring a balance and explosiveness to an offensive. So if the Dallas goes in this direction, it likely means they see a unique talent they simply cannot pass on. So there is some more behind of the scenes about these NFL draft decision makers in the Dallas Cowboys. Everything ultimately cycle back to the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones. And the Cowboys leadership group report suggests there is a stronger emphasis this year on discipline and sticking to the body rather than making emotional unity in the NFL in this season of 2026. And the Dallas already possesses an elite offensive firepower, but the addition and development of a new offensive weapon has created even more excitement among the Cowboys. A wide receiver CeeDee Lamb remains the centerpiece of the passing attack and continues to establish himself as one of the top receivers in the football, which is NFL. His elite running ability, separation speed, yards after catch production, and the red zone efficiency make him one of the most dangerous offensive players in the NFL. And also another major talking point surrounding the Cowboys offense is a wide receiver George Pickens. The talented receiver has generated enormous attention throughout of season because of his big play ability and physical style of the play. Reports indicate that the Dallas views Pickens as the critical part of the offense moving forward, and many analysts believe he could become one of the Prescott favorite deep threat target during upcoming season. So George Pickens brings explosiveness to a vertical passing game, and his ability to strength defenses could open up even more opportunities and length of the lamb. Tight ends and running back in the Cowboys offensive system. NFL analysts are already discussing the possibilities that Dallas may have one of the strongest receiving corps in the football. If both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens perform at the highest level together, offensive coaches are reportedly focusing heavily on improving the team downfield passing attack, play action execution, and red zone scoring efficiency. The Cowboys want to become more unpredictable offensively and create mismatches against opposing secondaries every single week. The Cowboys coaching staff also appear committed to improving the running game, which has been inconsistent at the time over the last few seasons. The Dallas Cowboys understand that the balanced offensive scheme is essential for the playoff football and establishing a reliable ground attack that would reduce a pressure on a Prescott while also controlling a tempo of a game. Coaches are emphasizing offensive line chemistry, run blocking, and situational football throughout off-season preparations and training activities. On the defensive side of the football, the Cowboys are going through what many insiders are calling defensive reset. So Dallas used the 2026 NFL draft to strengthen a multiple defensive positions, especially in areas involving a pass rusher, a depth, a linebacker, and a speed and defensive versatility. And the organization believes that improving the front seven will help the team to compete against a narrow offenses throughout the NFL. One player receiving a significant attention this offseason is a linebacker DeMarvion Overshawn. Coaches and team executives have spoken positively about his development, athleticism, and leadership potential. Overshawn has reportedly approached the offseason with a tremendous focus, especially knowing that this period could be extremely important for a long-term future with the franchise. Many Cowboys fans believe he could become one of the emotional leaders of the defense during 2026 season. And the Cowboys defense is still expected to rely heavily on speed, aggressive, and creating turnovers. Dallas wants to generate consistent pressure on opposing a quarterback while forcing mistakes throughout aggressive defensive play calling. Defensive coordinators are reportedly focusing on improving a third down efficiency, tackling discipline, and red zone defense after some inconsistent performances in a key moments last season. Dallas has also continued adding a veteran depth throughout free agencies. One notable addition is the veteran wide receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who signed with the Cowboys to provide additional speed and experience to an offense. His presence creates more competition in training camp and gives the Cowboys another potential field-stretching option. The front office believes a veteran depth could become extremely important over the course of the long NFL season filled with injuries and roster adjustment. The Cowboys front office has also spent a considerable time managing the salary cap situation. Several contracts were restructured in order to create a financial flexibility for the future moves in the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dallas understand that the maintaining competitive roster in today's NFL require carefree cap management, especially when a multiple star players are involved in signing of a new contract. So the organization appears willing to remain aggressive financially if it believes the current roster has legitimate championship potential. And another major area of focus for the Dallas Cowboys is a team culture and mental toughness. Coaches have repeatedly discussed the importance of accountability, discipline, leadership, and finishing games under the pressure. For years, critics have questioned whether the Dallas could handle the intensity of play football against an elite opponent. As a result, much of the off-season messaging from inside of the organization has centered around improving execution in a critical moments and developing a stronger playoff mentality. At training camp, expectations are already extremely high. Cowboys fans are eager to see how quickly the new offensive pieces develop chemistry and together, and whether the younger defensive players from the draft can contribute immediately. Internal competition at several roster spots is expected to be intense, which coaches believes will ultimately strengthen the entire team heading into a regular season. There is also growing excitement surrounding the Cowboys' schedule and the potential playoff positioning in the NFL, so the conference remains highly competitive with several powerhouse franchises expected to contend for a postseason success. However, the Dallas believes it has enough talent to compete with anybody if the roster stays healthy and performs consistently throughout the year. So many NFL analysts believe this season could define the future direction of the Cowboys franchise and a deep playoff run, which would strengthen a confidence in the current roster construction and coaching approach. And also, another disappointing postseason exit, however, could create enormous pressure throughout the organization and potentially lead to major changes in a future season. Despite the pressure, optimism remains extremely high around the Cowboys organization. The team possesses star power, offensive explosiveness, defensive speed, veteran leadership, and young talent capable of making an impact immediately in the NFL, especially in the Dallas Cowboys situation with a linebacker and safety expected to rotate responsibilities depending on matchups. That flexibility could become one of the biggest strengths of the roster if a younger defender continues developing at the pace the organization expects. So another major focus this offseason has been improving a land defense, especially after a several physical dominance. Opponents exposed weakness in the front seven during a critical stretches of the previous season. Dallas Cowboys understand that playoff football often becomes a battle of the physical in the trenches, and there is reportedly strong emphasis on adding a tough interior defenders capable of controlling gaps and collapsing lashing lanes. Coaches want a more disciplined unit that can maintain aggressions without sacrificing assignment integrity. The Cowboys front office, led by the owner Jerry Jones, continues to face enormous pressure from fans demanding a return to championship relevance. So Jones has repeatedly emphasized that the organization remains fully committed to winning now. And insiders around the NFL believe Dallas could continue making aggressive roster moves if opportunities arise during training camp or the regular season. The franchise understands that the patience among the fan base is wearing thin after years of the playoff disappointment, despite a strong regular season record. One of the most interesting aspects of the Cowboys offseason is how much attention the franchise has placed on leadership and locker room culture. Coaches reportedly want a stronger accountability across the roster, especially in high-pressure moments late in the games. So the veterans have been challenged to create a more disciplined and mentally resilient environment capable of handling adversity when expectations rise. So the Dallas has talent that has never been the issue. The really questions is whether this roster can finally translate a potential into a postseason execution. The NFC landscape is also becoming increasingly competitive, which means a Dallas cannot afford regulation. Teams across the conference continue improving through the draft and free agencies and coaching changes are putting even more urgency of the Cowboys to maximize their championship window immediately. The analyst believes that the Cowboys roster still possesses enough innate talent to compete with any team in football, but consistent health and late season execution will ultimately determine whether this group become legitimate Super Bowl contender or another talented team that falls short under pressure. As a training camp approaches, or solves the expectation around the Dallas Cowboys remain enormous. Every practice lap, every depth chart battle, and every contract negotiation and every preseason performances will be analyzed intensely because this franchise lives under a spotlight unlike almost any other organization in sport. Fans are desperate to see team capable of dominating physically, executing efficiently, and finally breaking through the postseason barrier that have haunted the organization for years. Most crucial moments in the modern era, and everything about their approach to NFL draft, it reflects a franchise that is no longer satisfied with simply being competitive. This is a team driven by urgency, shaped by a past disappointment, and fueled by a deep desire to return to the top of National Football League. For years, the Cowboys have carried the weight of expectations only because of their history, but because of the immense spotlight that follows them everywhere. So now more than ever, that spotlight is focused on how they build their roster through a draft and how those decisions will define their immediate future. At the center of this entire operation stands a Jerry Jones, a figure whose influence on a franchise cannot be overstated. Jerry Jones has built his reputation on bold move, aggressive decisions, and the unwavering belief that the Cowboys should always be contenders. Unlike many organizations that embrace a long-term rebuild, Dallas operates with a win-now mentality, and that philosophy is clearly reflected in how they approach the draft. Every pick is not just about potential, it is about an immediate impact. It is about finding the players who can step into a high-pressure environment and delivers results from a moment they arrive. The foundations of the current Cowboys roster is strong, and it begins with a quarterback, Dak Prescott, where a Dak Prescott has been the leader of the team for years, and while his performances have often been impressive and the narrative surrounding him to become increasingly tied to postseason success. The rectangular season consistency is no longer enough. The expectations now is clear. Take the team deeper into a playoff and compete for a championship. Supporting Prescott is one of the league's most dynamic wide receiver in CD Lamb, whose ability to create separations, make explosive plays, and dominate a defense has made him a cornerstone of the offense. Together, they form a partnership that has the potential to be one of the most dangerous in the NFL. But even that is not sufficient, but the right supporting cost. On the defensive side of the ball, Micah Parsons has emerged as a generational talent, and Micah Parsons